Good question from Raise the Flags. And I'll let you two answer this. I can't judge my own.
Who has the better ankles, Matt Prater or Matt Berry?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know what, actually?
Matt Prater today after that performance.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Connor Rogers, Matthew Berry, Jay Croucher. What's happening, fellas? You look like you had something really important to say, so I kind of wanted to let you go.
Oh, no, I'm happy to be here.
I've worked with you long enough.
Yes, sir.
You go like this to the camera when you really want to let
hello,
it go.
how are you? Welcome in.
It's Mr. Rogers.
Excited to have everyone. Excited to have the regulars back again, Jay Croucher. Sure.
Yeah, good night for us on the betting front.
Yes, exactly.
Football. 2 for 1. We're a team.
2 for 1.
TJ Hawkinson's missing somewhere.
Yeah,
we're still looking for him.
Yeah, but
that's right.
Olamide Zacchaeus over cashes, and the Jordan Mason over cashes. TJ Hawkinson, in fairness to you, thought JJ McCarthy could throw for a full game.
For maybe 190 yards?
Yeah, I mean, right. It was,
we're going to get into all of it. We are going to break down the game.
By the way, the actual Jack Reacher says, welcome to Connor's Gun Show and Barry's Ankle Show. Yeah, we're all about giving the fans something. So, Jay, what do you bring to the table?
Is that a haircut, Jay?
No. I got my haircut like 10 days ago, Connor. Thanks for noticing. 10-day latency.
I don't pay attention to you that much.
I shaved a couple of days ago.
Something's different.
See, now I look like 24 years old.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
And
I was sort of getting used to to Evil Jay. I was kind of digging that.
It'll be back in a few years.
I'm sure once you hit puberty, we're all excited about it. So lots to get to today. Big waiver wire, week 2 waiver wire. I feel like you don't want to overreact to week 1, but you don't want to underreact either. Like there are some telling data points that come through in week 1 that sort of either confirm some stuff that we thought about in the preseason, or we're like, oh, we think that's legitimate. Like
there's 2 roads traveled.
Yeah.
I think of last year. It's weird the things you remember. Isaiah Likely went nuts week 1, and people were like, oh, man, I got to have it all. And we saw how that turned out. But then 2 years ago, everybody was like, who the hell's Puka Nacua?
Yeah.
And like, we're not buying this. This is just a Sean McVay, machine.
Yeah, just you get a bunch of scam artists.
Puka Nacua won people leagues that year.
I think it's a reminder to, with week 1, just assessing not so much the headline stats, but the underlying usage.
Correct.
Because usage is so much more sustainable. The thing about Puka, it wasn't just that he had like 120 yards or whatever. He had like 15 targets from Matthew Stafford. So, all right, if you ever get 15 targets in your life from Matthew Stafford, then that's a real thing. And
I will, listen, I mean, you guys know me, I'm a company man, but I will just give a shout out. So my guy, Dwayne McFarland, over at fantasylife.com, does an article, and it is free, 100% free, called the Utilization Report. And not only does he does exactly what you're talking about, Jay. What he does is he looks at every single game. And it's not just about, oh, this guy got a lot of targets. It's like, how many targets per route run? What's his route participation? How many snaps is he playing? How many snaps is he playing what's their pass rate over expectation? Just every underlying stat to say, like, yeah, this guy just got lucky on a couple of broken plays defensively, and like you can ignore this, or you know what? Oh, actually, this guy's legit because this guy was out there a ton, looking for a ton. He was first read targeted. Just they do crazy stuff. Did you know Russell Wilson last week was one of the league leaders in designed quarterback runs? I don't know they're trying to generate anything kind of offense in New York, but he was like one of the top 8 quarterbacks last week in terms of designed quarterback run. So anyway, I highly recommend checking that out.
Good predictor.
Yeah.
Like it's only increasing the odds, and it'll find things. It was in obviously the Fantasy Life preseason guide as well, the entire concept of the utilization report, and I just think it kind of shows things more likely to happen for the future. For sure. Dwayne just absolutely grinds and crushes, and he has created a metric called the utilization score, which is just literally just one number that sort of gives you on a scale like, oh, this guy gets used a lot, this guy doesn't. Anyway, go check it out. Let's get to the players here, Connor. Rogers, I believe we're supposed to hear from Mr. Mahomes. That's exactly right, Matthew. Great toss on no Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, other guys had to step up. I thought Taekwon and Hollywood and Juju did a great job of kind of filling some of those roles. But that's someone that's a huge part of our game plan, and someone that we're counting on to go out there and make plays against some of the man coverage that they played. And I thought guys did a good job kind of stepping up in those roles. But you could tell it took us a little bit to get going.
Waiver wired returns. We start with the wide receivers. That was Patrick Mahomes talking about their current wide receiver situation. As you look from the Friday game against the Chargers in Brazil, yes, that is right. Hollywood Brown had 16 targets. Now, to be fair, guys, a little bit of an unpredictable script when Xavier Worthy gets hurt essentially immediately, that the entire game plan had to change.
And you heard the broadcast. On the broadcast, they actually talked about this. Eisen and Kurt Warner talked about the fact that in talking with Andy Reid in pre-production meetings, their entire game plan was Xavier Worthy. Like, that's where, by the way, and Xavier Worthy was on the love list and was one of the guys that we talked about that we felt like that they could attack the Chargers deep, that was an area of emphasis. And so it sort of makes sense that once he went down, it was suddenly like, all right, well, who's the guy that we got that's closest to Xavier Worthy? It's Marquise Brown. And but that's what's going to be the case here. Now, does he get 16 targets against the Eagles? I don't know. But I will say, I thought that even without Jalen Carter, I thought that the Cowboys had more success in the air than they did running the ball. You're going to have we expect an angry and motivated Jalen Carter to be back for the Eagles. We'll see it. We'll see about the suspension. But right now, my expectation is he plays this week, and so I think they're going to pass again this week, and I think they're going to pass starting with Hollywood Brown as long as Xavier Worthy is out, and we know Rashee Rice has 5 more games on the suspension.
Yeah, he should be rostered in every single league. A champion of the chubby leather daddies,
yes.
Hollywood Brown, all of a sudden now looking like a kind of wide receiver 2 type for the next little bit. A very leathery performance from Hollywood in Brazil.
I have Xavier Worthy. I just took a 0, and RotoPat defeated me despite me having one of the better scores in the week. Yes,
biggest loss of the week, actually.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he had everyone go off. He had Josh Allen.
Yeah.
No, he had Josh Allen. RotoPat had a great team. Just everyone went off on him. It's all right. That's all right.
The old Josh Allen excuse. I couldn't win. He had Josh Allen.
I mean, listen, that's who I had on my team last year. Josh Allen is a man of the champions, right? So who knows? Maybe he will once again lead a team in our league to a championship title. Proud Fantasy Life investor Josh Allen. It's just whatever. It's just one game. I think I lost week 1 last year as well. It's okay.
You like the Bengals?
I am like the Bengals.
Slow starter.
Slow
starter.
Right. I got 2 titles. Honestly, I could not win for the next 5 years, and I'm still good. I
won 2. Oh my God!
I'm just saying.
Good Lord.
Please, I've won 2 of the first 3 years in this league.
The next 5 years.
I'm just saying, if I've got 2 titles in 6 years, that's still a pretty good mark.
Could you imagine the opening monologue of the draft after year 5 of no championship?
Yeah, I feel like that's what Patrick Mahomes goes into the Chiefs locker room every season. He's like, guys, it doesn't matter if we don't win one for the next 5 years. We've already banked 3.
I'm just saying, I've got 2 titles, back-to-back titles. You guys have 0. I feel like the pressure is more on you guys from the fans than me. My base is looking for a 3-peat. But I've earned a little bit of a leash here as a general manager with the fans.
There's only one man.
You're Joe Shane. Yeah,
come on. What? That's ridiculous.
Matthew, there's only one man in the league who speaks exclusively in monologues around the league, so the pressure is on you, my friend.
Stop it.
The chat is chiming in. Kay Gemma said, the next 5 years, who is this guy?
Come on. I got a long leash. Come on.
Josh Burkowski, I'm pro Team Barry, but he needs to be humbled.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Xavier Worthy's injury hurts that, and there will be, unfortunately, we will not be able to get Hollywood Brown in our league because he is a chubby leather daddy, but he is 75% available in most leagues across it. This is somebody who had a 6.3 average depth of target in this one, which I think is exciting in this sense. It's a lot of short targets. Like, we know Hollywood Brown can get deep. We know he can do the deep stuff. I'm not worried about that. But the fact that they're using him on short and intermediate routes, just getting him sort of easy catches, trying to use his speed, get him in space, I think that's exciting in terms of trying to get him, multiple looks in PPR leagues.
Matthew, I think the call this morning was the most proud of you I've ever been because we got to Hollywood Brown, and then we went to the second wide receiver, and you said, no. Cedric Tillman needs to be the next wide receiver on Waiver Wired, not these other guys. Cedric Tillman, 72% available off the week of 5 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown.
19% target share, 96% route participation for Club said. And you sit here and go like, okay, whenever there's a performance, you're sort of like, hey, why did this happen? Can it repeat? All he's done when he's been healthy and out there is earn targets at a very high rate. And so nothing that I saw from the Browns on Sunday makes me think this isn't repeatable. As long as Joe Flacco is the quarterback, and honestly, the reason the Browns lost last game have nothing to do with Joe Flacco. Like, all of our jokes aside on this show is that Joe Flacco was competent. Joe Flacco ran that offense. Seriously, and is he the long-term answer at quarterback for them? Of course he isn't. But like they should have won that game, and the reason they didn't had nothing to do with Joe Flacco. The 2 interceptions weren't his fault. They bounced off their receivers' hands, right? And if their kicker makes a field goal and an extra point,
right?
The
like
kicking they're winning
insane.
They're winning this game, and so at the Ravens, home to the Packers, at the Lions, home to the Vikings, at the Steelers, really tough defenses. That's one challenge here, but they're going to have to be throwing. I don't think they'll be able to run against these teams. Not against the Ravens, the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers. So they're going to have to throw, and maybe it's some junk time here, but over his last 5 full games, dating back to last season, he's averaging over 18 fantasy points per game, Jay.
Yeah, and he's routinely outperformed Jerry Jeudy. There's a real chance that Cedric Tillman's the number 1 wide receiver for an NFL offense that, to your point, like Flacco, even though his stats weren't good, I agree. Joe Flacco, I thought he played well. He's against the Bengals. We'll see.
Yeah.
Although, like the Ravens, I guess it's Josh Allen, but the Ravens' pass defense didn't look amazing.
No.
Jair Alexander is getting absolutely toasted. It's not like he's getting toasted by peak Jamar Chase either. So I think that the Browns will be able to move the ball through the air.
Try to tighten up. Raise your hand if you can't add Cedric Tillman because you already drafted him.
Let's go.
Sounds like somebody
there you go.
Listen to the show.
Yeah, try to tighten up. There you go. Listen, Club's Head has been a favorite of you and I for a long time, and I always say this. The reason I'm a big fan of Cedric Tillman is because Connor Rogers turned me on to Cedric Tillman when he was drafted.
I think if he didn't have the significant concussions at the end of last year and actually got to finish out the season, he would have been a thing this summer, but everybody just kind of forgot about him because he was hurt at the end of the year. But Club said
that, and I think there was questions about the Cleveland offense. I think people are just sort of like, this is going to be a disaster. They got 4 quarterbacks. They don't really have 1 quarter. Like just I think a lot of that. And I'm with you. The Bengals defense made it look a lot easier than than the Ravens, Packers, and Lions defense are going to. But still, this is a team that, as long as Joe Flacco has been quarterback for them, go back to 2 years they chuck it.
Yeah.
Stefanski wants to throw.
And he kind of has to throw as well.
Yeah,
he kind of has to.
How the script is going to flow. One of the surprises of the first week, guys, is not how well Justin Herbert played, but how much the Chargers threw the ball in this Greg Roman offense, Matthew, where we have both of their wide receivers on waiver wire this week. Keenan Allen at 50% available, so there's a good chance he might not be available in your league. Quentin Johnston we'll get to in a second, who's available in 91% of leagues. But all of these guys essentially got to eat in Brazil.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, and not only were the Chargers in terms of pass rate over expectation high, they were the highest in the NFL by a wide margin. Shout out to my friend Ben Gretsch, who does a great job tracking all this stuff. So Ben is the one who sort of turned me on to that. And so shout out to Ben Gretsch, who follow him at Yards Per Gretsch on social media. He does a great job, Ben does. But anyway, the fact is like, the Chargers became a throwing team, and I don't know if that's because the Chiefs that's how they felt like they had to defeat the Chiefs. But like if they're going to throw, even if they don't throw as much as they did on Friday night, but they throw more than we expect, right? Because we would expect a Harbaugh, Greg Roman team to be a run heavy. Like this is pretty interesting. 78% route participation for Keenan Allen, 29% target share. His last 8 games dating back to last season, he's averaging over 16 fantasy points per game. We just talked about in the offseason that Keenan Allen not having a team wasn't because he was done. It was because, honestly, he wanted, at this stage of his career, he wanted to go to a team where he wanted a certain amount of money. There were a lot of teams that didn't want to pay the amount of money that he wanted. He wanted to play on the West Coast. And he wanted to play for a contender. And so it took a while, but eventually, being reunited with the Chargers made sense, and obviously, the money was good for him. West Coast team that he's familiar with the quarterback, and he knows they're going to be, a playoff contender.
I think he's a super interesting player because there's a couple of things. We had a question here from VedP, Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston, who's the better pick? I think it's Keenan Allen, and the reason why, there's a few things. One, 2022, 2023, Keenan Allen was awesome. We're in the Chargers offense. He had a bad year last year, but it was in a bad offense, new system, everything. He looked slim. He looked quick. On Friday night in Brazil, he has an established rapport with Justin Herbert. Yes. And here's the other big thing is that, like, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman talking about, like, they want to run the ball, they want to pound the rock. Like, your actions speak louder than words. And since the second half of last year, they were throwing the ball a ton in the second half of last year.
Yeah.
Like, they only ran the ball a lot in the first half when Herbert's coming off the plantar fasciitis in the preseason, and he was banged up as well. Since he's gotten healthy, they have thrown the ball as much as anyone in the NFL, and that carried in. They had a 98th percentile pass rate over expectation against the Chiefs. And it just makes sense. Like, you got one of the 6 best quarterbacks on the planet let him cook, put the ball in his hands. So I think that Keenan Allen's going to be a wide receiver 2 in an elite passing offense.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't have a stat on this. I mean, I think Quentin Johnston's going to be popular in waiver wires this week, and he should be picked up, right? Because the 2 touchdowns. But I mean, like, it's like a busted coverage, right? And I just sort of think to myself, like, he also had drops in this game, which has plagued him throughout his career. And I just sort of think about, again, I go back to, like, forget stats. Just think about people. This is the second year of the Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman regime, right? They drafted Trey Harris. They drafted KLS. They drafted Ladd McConkey last year.
Yeah.
They drafted Ladd McConkey. They signed Keenan Allen this year. The only guy in that wide receiver core that they sort of inherited was Quentin Johnston. And I know that he had like the flashy game and he had the 2 touchdowns. He got the 7 targets, 5 for 79. But I don't know. If you're asking me Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston, I'm saying Keenan Allen. Yep. I think his role is more secure. I could see as Trey Harris gets up to speed, I could see him. I feel like QJ's role is more in jeopardy with Trey Harris or KLS.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think what was interesting in this game is going back to how much they passed over expectation is they also ran 10 personnel, just 1 running back, no tight end, 5 times in this game, something they didn't do in the past. So they're looking to get more wide receivers on the field, and maybe that inspires some hope for QJ to still stay impactful. But I think the bottom line is in this situation, you have a better chance of getting QJ. There's a good chance Keenan Allen's not in your league, where he might be worth a flyer at this point because you won't have a lot of options.
Yep. I think just broadly as well, like I just think you want to get as many shares of this Chargers offense as possible.
Yes.
There is such a history going back of quarterbacks really taking a leap in year 2 of an offensive scheme, which just makes sense. Like it just becomes more innate. Everything is more automatic. Justin Herbert looked so comfortable against a pretty good Chiefs defense on Friday. He just torched them. They had no chance whatsoever. He is, I think, on talent, a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL. If they're going to give it to him and let him throw, also let him
run a little bit too. Like he ran more. Like I mean, he's fully healthy, and so I think he's probably like more of a top 8 quarterback in the NFL on talent than top 5 or 6. But you got him 6. That's fine. But like I'm just saying, but like he's right there. Yeah. Like yes, and given where he went in drafts this year. Because I think people, and I'll raise my hand as being one of those people that had him, that didn't have him as a top 12 play this year, for sure. I think Herbert is legit fantasy-wise, and I think you're right on the theory of try to get as much of this offense as you can get.
A question from Tej before we take a look at some deep league wide receiver targets. Does this hurt Ladd's fantasy value?
No.
I think if anything,
Ladd McConkey's a stud.
He's a stud, and they're going to throw the ball a lot, and at the end of the day, if QJ and Keenan Allen have an impact, that shifts away a little attention from Ladd.
For sure.
If anything, this is good for Ladd McConkey.
Yeah.
He's still the guy to beat man coverage. Like he's the guy who'll actually beat his man more than anyone else.
100%. All right, here's some deep league mentions, guys. You know, Kayshon Boutte led the team in receiving yards, tied for the team lead in targets and receptions. If that defense is any indication, like they're going to have to be throwing quite a bit. Stephon Diggs doesn't look like he is fully up to speed. Demario Douglas only playing in 3 wide receiver sets. Pop Douglas. So Kayshon Boutte, like again, Kyle Williams, no one really to be seen. Boutte, I think, is the lead. Should be rostered in a lot more leagues. Hey, Josh Palmer had a 20% target share in week 1. Now, again, that was a crazy game where, you know, Josh Allen threw it a zillion times, but Palmer's going to be part of one of the best offenses. Wan'Dale Robinson, of course, still a PPR cheat code, 25% target share for him. He's against the Dallas Cowboys. Calvin Austin was the clear number 2 wide receiver for the Steelers, opposite DK Metcalf, and like, I mean, I don't know that you're excited to drop somebody to go grab Calvin Austin, but like if you're like me and you're in a deep league where you have Xavier Worthy that you're going to throw in an IR spot and there's like no one available in the league, Calvin Austin is out there as well. And we've talked about him during the preseason, Connor, but Elic Ayomanor, like
how about a 28% target share
against the Broncos?
Right, and if you think about it, I know the day didn't look great just in the box score, but Brian Callahan missed a very obvious challenge because he didn't know the elbow in bounds counts as a catch. He didn't challenge a play to Ayomanor. That was a big play. Yeah. That would have helped his stats a little bit. I mean, this is one of my bold predictions before the season. Ayomanor is going to finish as a top 50 receiver. I think by the end of the year, he's going to be Cam Ward's number 1 wide receiver. And boy, does Cam Ward need somebody to help him out.
It was brutal. It was tough.
Tough watch.
It's funny, like his stats everything statistically was horrific about Cam Ward. Watch the game. I didn't think he was playing that badly. Like, he made some plays.
Denver's defense
no
is
help.
pretty loaded.
No help there.
I want to mention a couple of guys real quickly. Ray McCloud. I mean, again, Darnell Mooney did not play in Week 1. Drake London now dealing with a shoulder injury. So Ray McCloud on a they're playing Minnesota. It's a tough defense, but we know Michael Penix is going to throw. Tory Horton. Guys. This might be it for Cooper Kupp. I give it one more week. Again, Darnold was under pressure, tough matchup against San Francisco, but ended the year poorly. And just, other than JSN, it didn't look like anyone in that Seattle passing offense. And so Tory Horton, who had a great camp, Connor.
I remember what we said when they got Cooper Kupp. We did this show. We were like, this is a conflicting skill set with JSN. Yeah. But JSN's just so much better, all of those things now at this stage of his career, where Tory Horton, who had a great summer, had a great camp, can win vertical. Yeah. This is an offense that they need somebody to win down the field, and Tory Horton at some point should be on the field for that. I mean, it's tough to say, and it's a little early, but maybe it's not early. This is when Cooper Kupp's been for a while.
Yeah, we'll give another week. Give another week for Kupp, but if he's nothing, again, and non-existent against the Steelers, who really struggled against the Jets of all offenses, then I think it's in trouble. And also, they just never threw the ball either. They just want to run the ball. And they weren't having any success on the ground either. They just kept on running it. So, yeah, Seattle offense did not look great. Cooper Kupp, he's dropping passes. They used him in, he was out there a lot. Yeah. They were using him in bunch formations next to JSN, but then Kupp would trip and then drop a pass. It wasn't good at all for Cooper.
No, it certainly wasn't. And so obviously when you head to your waiver wire, it sort of depends on what you need. Do you need somebody this week? You lost Xavier Worthy, or you lost George Kittle, which we're going to get to here in a second, right? If you need somebody this week, then, at wide receiver, somebody like Ray McCloud, somebody like Wan'Dale Robinson, Kayshon Boutte, again, deeper leagues, right? Or obviously any of the main guys we mentioned, Hollywood, Cedric Tillman, the two Chargers. But if you're heck, I'm pretty good, but I'm just looking for somebody to stash. Ayomanor is somebody that I would stash. Tory Horton is somebody that I stash. I don't know that you're using this week, but that you think that down the road they will have value. And I'll give you one more name. Malik Washington. We sort of talked about this a little bit yesterday as well, and Pro Football Talk talked about this as well. If you go to Pro Football Talk, Florio did a story about this. That Tyreek Hill has a very good chance of being this year's Devontae Adams. That if the things don't go as well as the Dolphins hope, and there's a very real chance that they're 1-3, or they're 2-4. If you look at sort of their upcoming schedule, and they've got a tough one coming up, that Tyreek Hill could be on the move as they sort of have to tear it all down. The Chiefs and the Steelers are two teams that have been mentioned as well that you could use. They could use a veteran wide receiver. Tyreek reuniting with Mahomes and Andy Reid just makes so much sense given the needs that they have, where that team is. They brought back Kareem Hunt, so there's precedent there for bringing back a player where it ended poorly, but then they, all's forgiven.
We need each other. That's what that's called.
Right, right, exactly. And so we'll break that down. But if Tyreek Hill gets moved, whether it's the Chiefs, the Steelers, wherever, if Tyreek Hill gets moved, and I think there's a decent chance, or even if he gets hurt, this is somebody who's dealt with injuries, Malik Washington is the guy that most obviously profiles to take that role in the offense. He played that role in the preseason when Hill was sitting out. He's crazy fast.
Yes, great athlete.
And I have Malik Washington in every dynasty league, and highly recommend a stash for deeper leagues.
Let's move over to running backs for Waiver Wired, and we start with Cleveland. The rookie Dylan Sampson is 54% available, 12 carries for only 29 yards, but he caught 8 passes for 64 yards. There is a chance that the other rookie running back, Quentin Judkins, does play Sunday. Keep that in mind here.
Mr. Samsonite, why do I not get that? What's the
Samsonite? It's a brand.
I understand, but
Dylan Sampson.
Samson. Okay, all right.
It's a very easy one, Matthew.
It took me a minute. Feels like a stretch. I'm not gonna lie, but I will tell you what is not a stretch, and that is Dylan Sampson's pass catching ability here. 19% target share. He was targeted on 53% of his routes, and you think about the Browns, who are an 11.5-point underdog in Week 2 to the Ravens, and so you would expect them. They're gonna have to pass a lot in this game as well, and it feels like weirdly Sampson and not Jerome Ford is their passing down back, which was sort of shocking to me, Jay and Connor, but that's how it played out.
The question is, Connor, how does Quentin Judkins fit into this?
That's the problem with all of this, and this goes back to Terrence's question right here. I need some Quentin Judkins insight. He's going to take over this backfield. I feel like he's the most talented running back.
Yeah,
it's probably not this week. It's probably not even the following week. It is probably, though, October that we're not talking about any other Cleveland running back anymore besides Quentin Judkins. So if you need And you probably do, a lot of people. You need a running back for the flex, or you lost somebody to injury. If you need somebody to catch a couple of short passes in PPR and give you some points, Sampson can do that. I just wouldn't blow a lot of fab expecting a long-term help here.
Yeah, no, but I could see a scenario where Judkins and Sampson coexist.
And Ford is just it's time to move on.
Yeah, it's time to move on. I mean, they drafted both these guys this year. It's worth noting, by the way, check just to see, for those of you in shallow leagues, it's worth checking to see if Judkins available. Like, he's available in about 45% of leagues out there. So again,
which is wild.
Which is right, but as the holdout went over and people that are in leagues with like short benches, 4 or 5 man roster, 4 or 5 man benches, I could see that. Anyway, just it's worth seeing if Judkins is available. And by the way, if he is, unless you need somebody this week, I'd prefer Judkins over Sampson, or any of the guys we're about to mention.
How about Trey Benson? Jay looked pretty good with his 8 carries for 69 yards, also caught a pass as well. 61% available, kind of looked at as just James Conner's backup, but for Arizona, maybe they have different plans for this committee.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that he was able to get 8 rushing attempts, 2 Connor's 12, I was surprised. I certainly would have taken the under on 8 rushing attempts for Trey Benson, just given Kyler Murray running the ball as well, and he'll help out maybe a little bit in the receiving game. But yeah, I was surprised by it. I think ultimately he's only going to arrive at true value if James Conner gets hurt. But James Conner's dealt with injuries in his career. He's an older running back, so it's certainly possible, and looks like he's not going to be, a total non-entity even when Conner is healthy.
By the way, they play the Carolina Panthers this week. Panthers allowed 200 rushing yards and 6.3 yards per carry in week 1 to the Jaguars. Obviously, Travis Etienne's big run contributing to that. But still, like, if you're desperate for a flex play this week, I do think Benson has some deeper league flex play value in the right matchup, like it would be this week against the Panthers. And to your point, just, he's carving out more of a role for himself in this offense. They still trust Conner when they get in close. As long as Conner's healthy, he's still going to be the main guy, but Benson getting more and more work.
How about a post-week 1 trade, guys? Tank Bigsby wakes up and goes from Jacksonville to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles right here. This is from Mike Garafolo. The Eagles trade for Tank Bigsby is in part due to a need for another kick returner, sources say. He'll be in the mix for that role with Will Shipley, who had 1 return against the Cowboys. He's dealing with a rib injury. Garafolo also followed up just on how important the kick return is being viewed right now by teams with the change in rules. But Tank Bigsby, you drink for free.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing against Jacksonville, but
no, right? But you wake up, in Jackson, you go to bed thinking you're a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you're trying to get out of the cellar of the AFC South, and you wind up like right, aren't they? I mean, I know they won, but come on. And
I think the Jags will be all right this year.
Yeah, I picked them to win the division.
Did you
but
really?
Yeah, I did.
Whatever.
But
they're going to Super Bowl, going to a team that won the Super Bowl 2 of the,
that's pretty good
Super Bowl
feeling.
2 of the last 3 years, and it's defending Super Bowl champions. Just saying, no disrespect to Jacksonville. Look, you guys know I like Jacksonville's offense this year. I'm just not convinced on the defense.
Okay. But for Tank Bigsby, who is clearly the odd man out, this is a great opportunity.
And see, I actually disagree.
Not in fantasy, but I'm talking about playing football.
Oh yeah, I mean
he's not even a thought in Jacksonville. At least he has a role with the Eagles.
Right, but I mean fantasy-wise, I actually think if you have Tank Bigsby, this is a big loss because
trade him to
where you drafted him like as a top 40 running back with the idea that like he might be the guy in Jacksonville. He was somebody who was running with the ones in practice during preseason. Etienne, of course, got the run with the ones in the actual preseason games, but still like there was a hope that Bigsby would at least be half of a committee in what we think is going to be a pretty good offense. And now he is basically an insurance back if you have Saquon Barkley. If something were to happen to Saquon Barkley, maybe it's Shipley, maybe it's Bigsby, maybe it's a committee. So he takes a massive hit from fantasy value because there was a scenario there where Bigsby was half of what we think is a productive backfield. The big winner here is Travis Etienne, who, wherever you got Travis Etienne, that's a bargain. This is a guy that was going as a top 15 running back a year ago, and just because of the injuries and Bigsby taking over somewhat, he dropped in drafts because of the uncertainty around his role. But again, we think this Jaguars offense is ultimately going to be very good, and he's clearly the guy. He looked to be the guy again, right? I mean, he had that speed and that burst. And also Bashal Tutin, he's not 100% rostered. He's rostered in a lot of leagues, but if Bashal Tutin is out there, uptick for him because now you expect him to have more of a role, and obviously if anything were to happen to Etienne, Tootin would be pretty interesting here. By the way, there was a LaKent Allen sighting as well. Syracuse's own LaKent Allen got in the
catcher.
mix. Yeah,
pass catching back.
Would you try and sell high on ETN?
Yeah, I just don't ever have confidence in him staying healthy anymore. That's always the issue. We get these flashes and we're like, oh, great, ETN's back.
I wonder if this is the pinnacle of the ETN. He's coming off an amazing game. Now he's like RB1 workload. And they got the Bengals this week too, so maybe you wait one more week. But then schedule gets a lot tougher for Jacksonville after this. And I just worry that it doesn't usually work out for Travis Etienne.
Julio, think you are Tootin upside here or more of an indicator of confidence in ETN? I think
both.
I think both. Right. It speaks volumes that if something happened to ETN, they trust Tootin to help.
And LaKent Allen, by the way. I mean, like he's going to have like a pass catching role. I do think in deeper PPR leagues, if you're like, that's a guy that should be on your radar as well, just because he may carve out a role. But the fact that he got a couple of snaps, he got like, I think 2 targets or something like that. Like,
that's his skill set.
Right, exactly. Like, I always liked him at Syracuse. So anyway, I think it's about that. I think it's trying to free up some its confidence in Tootin and Allen, and obviously in ETN.
Some deeper league running back targets for the millionth year in a row. Kareem Hunt makes this list. Now he's got the Eagles defense this week, so
but
we'll see.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to figure out this backfield anymore, Matthew.
It is, but he had the same number of touches, the same number of targets as Isaiah Pacheco in week number 1. He played 40% of the snaps, and they like him in short yardage. For whatever reason, they like him in short yardage. I would think it'd be Pacheco, but they trust him around the goal line. And so, I sort of think he's washed, but it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I think. So, you're probably not using him this week, but, he's going to half of that. And then Kenneth Gainwell, we tried to talk to you throughout the preseason about, how annoying Arthur Smith's backfield was going to be, and that Kenneth Gainwell is going to play more than you want him to. He's going to be super annoying, and that we were avoiding Caleb Johnson at price just because we thought it was going to be tough for him to get on the field, and that's exactly what happened in week number 1. Eventually, Caleb Johnson will get there. They're going to need him. They're going to need his talent and his ability, but no running back played more snaps than Kenneth Gainwell. He played 52% of the snaps in week 1. He had an almost 14% target share. Again, they're not going to use him when he gets in close, and he's not as good a pass catcher as Jaylen Warren. So it's more about you're hoping, it's hard to take a ton away from that game because that game against the Jets was so weird, guys.
It's very off script.
But he's a guy that's getting run on a decent offense.
He's on the field. And this didn't come out of nowhere. He was on the field during camp and preseason
100%.
all the time.
They like him a lot.
We were saying, you're going to have to be patient for Caleb Johnson, and the Steelers are showing their hands. So we just need to see if they can effectively run the ball because the Jets' run defense, which is improved, it was bad last year, really shut them down in this game.
Yeah, and they're playing Seattle this week. So,
Christian McCaffrey's coming off one of the least efficient running games of his entire career against what I think is a really good Seattle run defense and defense overall. So I think that is going to be tough. But Kenneth Gainwell is going to come like the poster boy for, do you just need 7-8 points?
Yeah.
Because he's the guy who's going to be out there and have a high floor and extremely low ceiling.
Yes, I think that's a correct way to phrase it. Yeah.
On the tight end side of things, guys, some not so fun news to kick off our waiver wire is that George Kittle is expected or likely, per Ian Rappaport, to be out 3 to 5 weeks with a hamstring injury, source says, making him a candidate for IR. So there are a lot of fantasy players right now, Matthew, that are going to need help at tight end, are going to need a starter at tight end. And we kick off with the rookie,
and you know who
Harold
a lot of fantasy
Fannin.
players are?
You.
Me as fantasy players. Because in addition to losing, this is what I get, by the way. This is the fantasy gods sending karma my way. Because of after my 30-minute soliloquy, my TED Talk at the start of our draft, bragging about my expertise and the fact that I've dominated you guys for 2 seasons in a row. Xavier Worthy and George Kittle in week 1, plus a loss to Rotopat, who had the highest score in our league. If I'd played anyone else,
if you'd played me, you would have lost. If you'd played Connor, you would have lost.
By a lot.
If you'd played other people,
yeah, but if I would have played other, if I played
the
Lawrence
other
or Denny, some of the others, producer Adam, I think I would have won. Whatever. Fact of the matter is I played the guy that had the highest score in the league, and I lose both Kittle and Xavier Worthy. Not fun for me. Not fun for anyone. I have a ton of Kittle this year. A ton of Kittle this year.
Good that first drive as well.
It was a hell of a first drive.
It was awesome. I'll have to hang on that. That'll keep me warm over the next month. But yes, if you need a tight end, and chances are you do, because Kittle was the 3rd tight end off the board, and some of that was on the love list. We thought he was a bargain this year. you're going to need a tight end. And it starts, not surprisingly, Connor, with Harold Fannin.
Harold.
Look at the Browns. Look at the Browns with
their rookies.
Tillman, the running backs. Now Harold Fannin.
They are making the most of their rookies right here. And we even have a question. We'll get to Fannin in just a second. Edu, correct me if I'm wrong, but Fannin isn't taking over Njoku's role. I think that's a good take.
Yeah.
Fannin has a very unique role. Listen to his snap counts here. 3 in the backfield, 29 in line, which is actually surprising because he didn't play. He's not really an inline tight end. 16 in the slot and 6 out wide. So what Kevin Stefanski is telling you is David Njoku had an 86% snap rate, Matthew.
Yep.
He's our true tight end. Harold Fannin is more of this chess piece like he was at Bowling Green that we can move all around, which is great for his target share as well.
It really is. He ran only 10 fewer routes than Njoku, and he saw 3 more targets Fannin did. The thing about Njoku is he's an unbelievable blocker. So, like, he's never coming off the field.
He's not losing any role.
He's not losing any role. The problem is will he maybe lose a few targets because they have Fannin, because they have Club Said and Jerry Jeudy. They suddenly have more pass-catching options than maybe we would have thought of at the beginning of the season. So, like I had Njoku as like a top 7 tight end, and now I'd probably rank him as, a top 12 tight end, still a tight end 1, but like lower. But Fannin needs to be a priority on the waiver wire. Honestly, if you have a tight end or if you don't as well. This was something that we talked about and you'd heard in camp how excited they were at Fannin. And we thought this was coming. I didn't think it was coming week 1.
Neither did I.
And they playing the Bagels, and they were throwing a ton. But still, like, the skill set is, we've talked about this. We like the skill set coming out of college, Connor, and it's a nice matchup actually with Baltimore, who last week allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends. Kincaid got into the end zone. Was it Jackson Dawes?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
Georgia Tech blocking tight end.
Yeah, got into the end zone.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
They played two separate tight ends over 70% of the snaps. That's all you really need to know. This is how they want to play.
This is a trend that's really gaining a lot of steam, too. Yeah. You saw the Raiders do it, Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, so you're going to see a lot of this around the league. Let's look at some deep league tight end targets in case you can't get Fannin. You always are a big proponent of Brenton Strange, Matthew.
Yeah, listen, it's been said that I like me some Strange. That's Brenton Strange, of course, the tight end for Jacksonville.
Oh.
That's all I'm talking about. So I like Brenton Strange. Look, he led the team in receiving yards. He had 3 targets on the first drive. That's the scripted plays, right?
Yep.
Those are the scripted plays. And so, Trevor Lawrence has traditionally liked throwing to his tight end. And, oh, by the way, he's playing Cincinnati this week. So, yes, I do, in fact, like me some Strange this week. Hey, my guy Jonnu Smith, we talked about it again. It never ends. Again, tell my daughters, find a guy that looks at you the way Jonnu Smith and Arthur Smith look at each other. He had a 20% target share in week 1, tied for 2nd in the week. They gave him a BS. That was one of Rodgers' touchdown passes too. Was
the pop pass?
A pop pass. That's.
But he threw 4 touchdowns.
Oh, he threw 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Come on, you handed it off for one of them. But the fact is, Jonnu Smith is going to be out there a ton. How about Juwan Johnson? Suddenly the 3rd receiving option for your beloved New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler looked okay. He looked competent out there. Also, he threw an absolute dime to Juwan Johnson to tie the game up with 6 seconds left. Juwan just dropped it in the end. But I think Rattler showed enough that he's going to at least be able to get these guys the ball, and they're going to run a functional offense.
Yeah, and then in Michael Mayer, just mentioning him, obviously Brock Bowers is the guy there, but they played Mayer a lot as we talked about sort of these 2 tight end sets. He played 63% of the snaps. He had a 12% target share again if you're in a deep league, and the other guys are gone.
All right, let's go to quarterbacks here. We're going to kick off with Danny Dimes, who, after they absolutely smashed the Dolphins in week 1, we got to hear from Daniel Jones, who was one of the best fantasy quarterbacks of the week, on why he wasn't surprised about the outcome.
No, I don't think it was surprising to us. I think, we've had a lot of confidence based on our preparation and the work we've put in through training camp and kind of where we think we've grown and improved. You always got to go out there and do it on the field and perform. So there's that element to it. But no, we weren't surprised. But like I said, now the challenge is to grow with it, build, and continue to develop as a team, as an offense.
Yeah, this week will be the real test. They're home against the Broncos. That'll be the real test. It's one thing to dominate the Dolphins. It's another thing if you can hold your own against the Broncos. But we talked about this yesterday. we're a believer in Shane Steichen's offense and Daniel Jones' skill set in that offense.
Yep, offensive line looked phenomenal. It gave him a ton of time. It was one of the best pass blocking performances from any group this week. Tyler Warren looked great. Michael Pittman looked good. Alec Pierce, deep threat. Also, here's the thing, Connor. Like, Dan Jones, he was willing to throw it downfield. Right. He was taking shots, and that to me, that was the big kind of inflection point as to whether it's going to be viable. And the fact he was willing to throw it down the field makes me think that this offense, I don't think it's going to be as good as it was last week consistently, but I do think it's going to be viable. And with what he gives you with his legs, also he's sniping Jonathan Taylor at the goal line too. He's going to have the Daniel Jones tush push element, the sneaks. I think that he is going to not be shocked at all if he's a top 15 quarterback this year in fantasy.
I think in the balance they have, Tyler Warren was awesome in this game. It's someone he can lean on. You brought up Pittman and just taking shots down the field, and we know what he could do as a runner. So, but like you said, this is definitely one, Matthew, where we're kind of wait and see because this matchup is huge in week 2.
Home to Denver, but then at Tennessee, at the Rams, home to Las Vegas. Like, it gets easier after the Broncos, and I don't know that I'd want him as my QB1 in like a one quarterback league, but I definitely think he needs to be rostered in more than 5% of leagues, which is where he's currently rostered. And I do think he's a very viable 2-quarterback Superflex league starter to the extent he's in any of those leagues.
I think I'd rather have him over guys like C.J. Stroud, to be honest, just because of the rushing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the offensive line is a lot better as well.
Rather have him than Tua right now.
Yep, absolutely.
100%.
Some more 49ers injury news, as that just doesn't seem to stop at any point at this point, as you see from Matt Mayoko. Quarterback Brock Purdy has a left shoulder injury and a toe injury. 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan said, he said Purdy's toe is the bigger concern. And if there's anyone you could trust in this world, it's Kyle Shanahan when it comes to injuries. And by trust, I mean don't expect anything from Brock Purdy or expect the worst at this point, as you see some deeper targets here, Matthew.
Yeah, Michael Penix obviously is averaging 38 pass attempts over his last 3 starts. We talked about Geno. Geno looked good. Geno looked really good against the Patriots and just a perfect fit for Chip Kelly's offense. They were top 3 in passing yards, yards per attempt, and average depth of target in week number 1. And then the last one there, you saw Jaxson Dart. I thought Russell Wilson looked. It was not a Russell.
He looked Cooper Cup-ish.
He looked bad.
Yeah.
He looked bad, and they've already named Russell Wilson as the starter for week 2, but I think we see Jaxson Dart sooner than later. Honestly, they should start Jaxson Dart this week.
They're afraid to put him behind that line. That's
what it is.
Andrew Thomas didn't play. He's not ready, which is a very big concern. But I don't think this is one Andrew Thomas patch away from being fixed. I thought the whole unit was bad.
Still, though, I mean, you can't throw Russ out there if he's going to look like that. I would set the over-under at 4.5 weeks. I think they might have the Saints in week 5. I think that's
and then you go Eagles, Denver, Eagles.
Yes.
Yeah,
so there's no soft landing.
No, at some point you just have to sort of throw him out there, and he's just going to have to learn. But, they have to – Jaxson Dart, I think, will be a very viable fantasy quarterback because of his rushing whenever he gets the job there. Honestly, if I was the Giants, I'd have start Jameis this week. If they don't want to put Dart behind that line, I get it, but throw Jameis out there because that was
at
bad.
some point, Brian Dable's got to do everything he can to win.
Yeah,
so
that was
clock's
brutal.
already ticking.
That was brutal for your Giants. I don't understand why you backed them.
But I'm a Saints man now.
No. You can't.
If you need a defense. Here's some options for you.
Not allowed.
At the top, the Rams, who might have the best front in football. I mean, they're just insane. They got the Titans, and we saw how Denver kind of made life tough for Cam Ward. The Niners against your Saints, Jay. The Cowboys against the Giants, who, as Matthew said, are still starting Russell Wilson, so that gives you some optimism for the Cowboys defense. Seattle against the Steelers, and the Chargers against the Raiders. That'd be a trickier one if Geno can keep this up.
I'm just shocked the Seahawks are available in 80% of leagues. We take this from the league platforms. That's not a made-up number, but we all agree the Seahawks are one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Brock Purdy,
head coach.
Brock Purdy just faced the highest pressure rate of his entire career.
Right.
Trent Williams is getting destroyed out there. This is an awesome defense.
Yeah, it's shocking to me.
We're going to take our first break. When we're back, still to come, J.J. McCarthy rallied the Vikings to a win, but should we be concerned about the quarterback keeping others fantasy viable this season? The answer coming right up.
Going to the Vikings run game, Jordan Mason over 39.5 rushing yards. He's set 11 yards lower than Aaron Jones, which I don't agree with. I think this will be a pure split. I think that Kevin O'Connell will want to lean on the run.
I agree with you. I think also in the pass game, they're going to want to lean on the tight end for the young quarterback. TJ Hawkinson going over 43.5 receiving yards.
Olamide Zaccheaus, that's right. I'm going with an Olamide Zaccheaus bet as well. He's the number 3 wide receiver in a game in which I think Caleb Williams will have to throw. The line was 21.5 at the start of the show. It's up to 23.5 now.
Everyone's buying
still
in.
Taking over. Everyone loves Olamide Zaccheaus. So give me the over on Olamide Zaccheaus at 23.5 receiving yards tonight.
Nicely done, fellas. I have to say, though, I'm starting to think our production team is out to get me.
Yeah.
Friday, great call pickup lines. Tennessee Broncos under cashes. Not a peep in this building. Not a peep.
Not a peep.
JJ McCarthy can't find TJ Hawkinson. Plastered everywhere. My face with an X through the spot. That is what it is.
Just pick a winner.
Ours cash, though. Ours cash, though, Jay. Well done. Well done. Nice job. Nice job.
I'm going to sit this segment out.
Yeah, good.
I don't know anything about these teams, obviously.
JJ McCarthy. Honestly, what do you make of the JJ McCarthy performance?
Yeah.
He looked like he was. I was thinking, maybe they should bring Carson Wentz in.
To be honest with you, it was very similar to a lot of college performances where you watch the first half and you're like, this guy's just rattled and overwhelmed, and then he just finds a way. Yeah. I think it is concerning this year for what we do in fantasy, not for the Vikings long-term and the prospects of J.J. McCarthy being their long-term answer at quarterback, because you saw the shortcomings of this pass game with him being rattled against the Bears. That's where it concerns me. And he got going at Justin Jefferson, but a lot of other guys, it never got going. So, I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, really, because of the injury he had last year, where it is his first year. But I was concerned with just how overwhelmed he looked, and the processing speed was not great.
Yeah, he reminded me of like a pitcher who can throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, which he does throw with his arm, and no off-speed stuff, doesn't really understand the strategy. Like, it was
like when the one thing he's got isn't working, it's sort of deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I mean, credit to him, because that is a crazy spot to be in and to kind of rally yourself and rally your team, and you saw how much that team loves him after the game. But, man, it just felt like the Bears completely gave this away in an inexplicable fashion to me.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I ended up joining a survivor pool late, and so I only had last night's game, and I took the Bears. I was like, it's like, it's a home team, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's stupid.
But I guess, what are the actions of this? Because obviously they're not doing anything with Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson gets downgraded a bit, but I think you still have to start him for now.
You do. Look, here's the thing. I'm not ready to panic just yet.
Yeah.
It's first game. You're on the road. Soldier Field's a tough place to play. It just always is when you're an opposing quarterback. I think the Bears have a pretty good defense. I know they were banged up still.
It's okay. That's what concerns me. I don't think they played very well.
Missing the corners.
I know. Exactly. But the other thing here is that for much of the preseason, their offense that they practiced with was Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Jalen Naylor. Obviously, Addison's not there, and now you've added Adam Thielen to the mix, which he's familiar with Kevin O'Connell, but J.J. McCarthy, doesn't know him. And so there's a little bit of that. Plus, by the way, I think what they want to do, just generally speaking, is they want to be more run heavy. They want to be more run balanced, I should say. As opposed to, how pass heavy they were last year. They improved their offensive line. They added Jordan Mason. We'll get to the running backs here in a second. Ryan Smith wants to know Jordan Mason over Aaron Jones moving forward. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Jordan Mason saw 65% of the running back rushes. He led the backfield with a 57% snap rate. He got 75% of the team's red zone rushes. Jones saw 0 here. And so Jones, I think it's fairly simple. Jordan Mason's going to be their every down back, their first and second down back, and they're close. They're the guy that they use when they get in close. And Jones is going to be more of the passing down back. Now, Jones will get some run. He did, early in the game and everything like that as well. But, I just thought to the eye test, guys, Jordan Mason just looked like the better, more explosive running back.
He did. And look, Aaron Jones on the other side of the aging curve, they brought in Jordan Mason to add that complement, and the offense just looked better as soon as Jordan Mason came in. He was the only one who gave them any life at the beginning of that comeback. So, yeah, I would prefer Jordan. Less of an injury risk as well, I would say, than Aaron Jones. So, yeah, I think Jordan Mason's the guy you want.
Yeah, Jones bailed you out with a touchdown, obviously, in terms of fantasy points. But this week I'll have Mason ranked ahead of Jones. I don't think there's, to your point about, like, what do you do with all this? I don't think there's anything to do other than the fact that, like, you're not, like, rushing out to pick up Jalen Naylor or Adam Thielen on the waiver wire. If had they had big games, maybe you would be. We'd be talking about them. But, again, like, I don't know that you're not going to find better than Hockenson on the waiver wire. And Jefferson is Jefferson. Yep. So I'm not panicking. And I'm not trading for Jefferson because there's a little bit of a concern. And if I have him, I'm not trading him away because his value is lower than it was. And I think you just have to sort of kind of hold steady and hope for better performances from J.J. McCarthy.
How did you change your mind about Ben Johnson, Chicago offense? Because I thought Caleb Williams, he just taking so long to get the ball out. And even on that first drive where it's like 6 for 6 and they march down the field, it's like, oh, Ben Johnson, coach of the year. He's like, he didn't get the ball out on time once on that drive, let alone the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's the issue right now is that he did not really play within structure at the rate you hope he can. You hope that gets better throughout the year. He didn't run a lot in this game, which it's good to see his athleticism on display like that when he's not confident. 58 rushing yards. DeAndre Swift gets the bulk of the rushing carries, and it was nice to see Rome Odunze get that touchdown at the end. I know that was kind of not a fluky play, but it was surprising they threw in that situation.
Very Ben Johnson-ish play.
But a very Ben Johnson-ish play for Rome Odunze.
Yeah, tough night at the stadium for DJ Moore here. I'm a little concerned about him, honestly.
What about Colston Loveland?
Yeah, I mean, Colston Loveland, you can't start him until you see it. Like, he's on the wrong side of that. The positives here for the Bears, at Detroit, home to Dallas, at Las Vegas. So the schedule gets easier for the Bears over the next 3.
All right. Sunday night, J.J. McCarthy, again, makes his Sunday night football debut at home as the Vikings host Michael Penix Jr. and the Falcons. Coverage of the NFC battle begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. We're taking our last break, but when we're back, we're circling some games on our betting card. Early line alert is right after this. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. Just download the Sportsbook app and use promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crown is yours.
The crown is yours.
It's time for last call. As we do on Tuesdays, we're going to take a look at some early lines for the weekend coming up here, guys. Jay, what do you got?
Taking Seahawks +3 at Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers played well against the Jets. He still can't move, and he's going to get pressured a lot by the Seahawks. I think that defense gets that done.
Yeah, I'm looking for an underdog as well. I like the Falcons getting 5.5 points at Minnesota. I know, obviously, they're at Minnesota's home, but this Falcons defense pressured Baker Mayfield on 41% of his dropbacks last week. They're going to be in J.J. McCarthy's face. 5.5 points. I trust Michael Penix to at least keep them in the game, if not win it outright.
Completely agree. Give me the Eagles just money line. Like, the line's already moved to just 0.5 to half a point right here, but like the Eagles, the Chiefs are banged up coming up from Brazil. Yeah, give me the Eagles to win again. For Jay and Connor, I'm Matthew. It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.